Hi, everyone. Welcome to Convention Chats. My name is Carolyn Cruse, and I'm the acting president of TCDA. And I'm here to welcome my good friend and former colleague and still mentor in all the things, Dr. Jacqueline Henninger. Dr. Henninger, welcome to TCDA Convention Chats.
Thank you so much for having me.
A disclaimer. So I know I would feel way more comfortable if I was reading off a script because that's just kind of how I roll when making videos. But we're just going to have a casual conversation and talk about the sessions that are coming up at the end of July for our convention this summer and enjoy a conversation about the convention.
Sounds good.
So, Dr. Henninger, we know that you are no stranger to music education in Texas. And definitely those who know you well know that you are a friend of choral music education in Texas. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about your background and your musical journey and what you currently teach at Texas Tech University.
Wonderful. I'm happy to do that. Yeah, I could go way back, but I think I'll just start with my undergraduate days. I did my degrees at the University of Texas at Austin. That's where I finished my undergraduate degree. And when I graduated in the middle of the year, I was looking for a job. And the first job that I was able to land was a choral director job at a middle school in Austin ISD. The super cool thing about that was that I'm a product of Austin ISD. That's where I attended elementary school, the end of my elementary school experience, and all of my secondary school experiences. The other cool thing about that position was even though I was primarily trained in the band area, my first instrument was piano. I sang in church choirs and in school choirs when I was younger and played in a variety of instrumental ensemble settings. So I felt very prepared for that position. However, I think a lot of my success as a middle school choral director could be greatly attributed to the fact that I had some connections with some of the current middle school directors in that area. And I pretty much just lived in their libraries for the weeks before my position officially started, lived in their choral rooms and picked their brains and learned a lot so that I could provide a positive experience for my choral students. So I started off as a middle school choir director. Then I went into an assistant band director position. Then I became the head band director, and all of that happened at Fillmore Middle School. And a lot of that shaped who I am as a music educator today. While I was in toward the end of my experience as a head band director at Fillmore Middle School, I started being heavily recruited by the University of Texas at Austin to pursue graduate studies. So I took them up on the opportunity and started my master's and had every intention of returning to the classroom once I finished my master's because my primary goal was just to improve my craft. And unfortunately or fortunately, I was encouraged to consider a PhD and was given some more wonderful opportunities to make that happen. So I remained in graduate school, finished my PhD at UT at Austin as well, and then entered higher ed. My first position in higher ed was at Ohio State University, stayed there for several years. Then UT at Austin had a faculty position come open. So I went to UT, was there for several years more, about 8 years. And toward the end of my time at UT at Austin, I was awarded a Fulbright Scholar Award. And that enabled me to fly across the pond and to teach and research at the only university in Tanzania that offers an undergraduate degree in music, and that's Tumaini University, Makumira. Had an incredible experience there. My philosophy of music teaching and learning was further developed, especially as it pertained to sharing the musics of other cultures in a way that honors and celebrates those cultures with young learners. And during the second year that I was there as a Fulbright Scholar, there was a position that was posted for Texas Tech. And when I saw that position description and I read it, I was like, okay, that's me. So let me go ahead and complete this application. And So I did and interviewed for the job and was thrilled that I was offered the position. And I've been at Texas Tech ever since. So I just finished my 10th year at Tech. And I teach undergraduate and graduate courses I have taught, of course, woodwind methods, but I also teach a class that's teaching diverse students in music, teaching music in urban settings, meeting the needs of culturally diverse learners, foundations, of all sorts of other classes that pertain to teacher preparation, as well as graduate studies to help people to enter the field of teacher preparation. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, and not to mention that you are the chair of the music ed area currently. Yes.
Yes. I forgot that part. Yes. So I'm currently the chair of music ed, and then I'm also one of the associate directors in the School of Music. And yeah, so I do that as well. And I still love to get into the community. I serve as a guest clinician, guest conductor, guest adjudicator for different events. And of course, I'm still publishing and presenting my research all over the country as well as internationally.
Yeah, so amazing. You have such a huge profile, a huge influence in so many different areas, and we just really appreciate you coming to the TCDA convention this summer for our convention.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
One. So you and I have had many conversations over the years about diversity, equity, inclusion, access, and belonging, and many of the issues related to those topics with regard to teaching in the classroom, with regard to professional settings, educational settings. And just like we discussed that good teaching is good teaching, I wanted to draw awareness to why we are asking you to present at the summer convention for TCDA. When we think about what strategies might be most helpful and what steps we can take that are most thoughtful to keeping our students and singers at the heart of our work. We know that these steps are universal across multiple contexts. So we're excited about the opportunity to learn from you and to work with you and to explore these topics further. So if you wouldn't mind, would you share a little bit with us about your headliner sessions that are taking place this summer? And I'll just say before you begin, I'll say briefly that it's not going to be just a sit and get, go into a session and sit down and have your iPad or your paper and pencil ready to take notes, but a little bit more interactive. And these sessions will take place in a room that's set up in roundtable format, literally. So
Mhm.
we're excited about that. But please give us a little bit of information about your sessions for this summer.
Sure. What I will say first is I appreciate everything that you said about the role that I get to play and I get to have in this upcoming convention and how connected it is with my own background. Not only my own background personally, but also professionally, pedagogically, scholarly. I mean, these are topics about which I've researched and taught for many, many years. And these are topics that I am very passionate about as a music educator and just as a human. So, and I think, especially given the intersectionality of my own identities, these topics are so personally relevant in addition to their being professionally and scholarly relevant. And so I appreciate having the opportunity to share what it is that I have researched, what it is that I believe, and what it is that I think will be of benefit to the people who attend the sessions.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in, professionally relevant, scholarly relevant, and also culturally in our time, right? In this era, in our
Very,
time and place. Yeah.
yeah, I totally agree. So I'll talk a little bit about the first session. The first session is entitled Crucial Conversations, the Importance of Belonging for Our Students, Our Music Spaces, and Our Communities. So the purpose of this session will be primarily to discuss a variety of topics that impact our students and our singers' sense of belonging within choral rehearsals, as well as in our music communities and the communities in which they live and we live. We will cover a variety of topics, and I won't go through a long list of all of them, but I will sort of just do a little bit of a highlight reel. of some of the topics that we'll touch upon. One of the topics that I think is of most importance is language. Our language that we use, the terminology that we use is constantly evolving. And when we're thinking about generating a sense of belonging for our students, we want to make sure that the language that we use is most inclusive. And so we'll spend some time talking a little bit about what it is we talk about and how it is that we talk to our students and with our students. Another important topic when it comes to DEIAB is biases. And we all have biases, especially implicit biases, or some people refer to them as unconscious biases. What becomes a concern, or when it can become concerning, is when one does not take the time to examine those implicit or unconscious biases. So we will talk about that topic, especially as it pertains to choral music education, and the students and the singers who we get to engage with. Something else that is connected to that is culturally responsive teaching. Culturally responsive teaching is a really, really important topic, and it has gone by different names as well. Just like DEIAB, some people have referred to that in the past as multiculturalism in music education. I mean, language evolves. So, culturally responsive teaching is connected with culturally relevant pedagogy. This has been in existence outside of music education for decades in the field of education. And then we have some wonderful scholars within our discipline, such as Dr. Connie McCoy and Dr. Vicki Lynn, just to name a couple, who have really brought this to the forefront of the conversations for what it is that we do in music education, and it can apply to a variety of music settings. So we'll talk about what culturally responsive teaching is, why it's important, how it can impact the quality of the experiences of your students and your singers, and how it should be considered, especially as we're thinking about literature selection and when we're thinking about our own personal cultural competence, which is a huge part of being culturally responsive. So we'll spend some time unpacking that. Carolyn, you made reference to DEIAB, and the A, as we all know, is the access. So we'll spend some time talking about access and the importance of access and what it is that we do to provide that access and what it is that we might unintentionally do to interfere with our students having access to certain spaces and certain experiences. And lastly, the B in the DEIAB is belonging. And for me, that's the ultimate goal. That is where we should want to land. When we're thinking about addressing diversity, providing equity, making sure we're being inclusive, providing that access, all of that is done with that intent of making sure that every single one of our students, every single one of our singers feel as though they belong in the spaces that we are providing for them.
And I was just thinking about those multiple spaces. So spaces for children, spaces for school age youth,
Yeah.
spaces for adult learners,
Yeah.
spaces for senior learners, just broadly, these
Mm.
spaces that we include singers in our choral communities. And these topics are so important to all of those spaces. Also, I was thinking that TCDA is doing a lot of self-study and work on many of these topics, but in particular, access and belonging.
Mm.
How do we modify our structures to provide more access to more singers, to more of our members and their communities?
Love it.
So I'm excited to learn from you about all of those topics and explore them with you. That first session is the first day of the convention, Thursday, July 25th at 1:15 p.m. So it's in the afternoon. So why don't you share some highlights about your second session, which will be the next day, so that people can enjoy having learned from the topics and maybe let them, how do you say, permeate a little bit,
Yeah.
live with the topic some before experiencing your second session, which is on Friday the 26th.
So the second session, it's entitled Purposeful Planning in Our Music Classrooms and Choral Rehearsals. seeing our students and affirming their identities. So within this session, as you already said, we're really going to take some time to reflect on the points that we discussed during the first session and provide that space, provide that time for everyone to have some opportunities, hopefully, for positive and meaningful transfers and applications of the topics that we initially explored in the first session. Let's now make those transfers and applications to the spaces within which we teach, within which we music, within which we engage with our students and our singers.
And if someone happens to miss that first session, they won't be behind. They can still catch up in the second session, right?
Of course, of course. I'll
Awesome.
make sure, yeah, I'll do like a review of some of the big points to make sure we're all on the same page. And then once we start engaging in the topics that we're focusing on for that second session, some of the things that we'll discuss will be, of course, strategies,
Mm.
primarily those strategies that are centered around the principles of culturally responsive teaching, culturally responsive rehearsals, and the interactions that we get to have with our students and with our singers. I look forward to providing the space so that these discussions and these conversations can occur in small groups. And then we'll share in the larger group and build on some ideas with that larger group. The ultimate goal for this second session is so that people come away from this session with a greater understanding of the steps that choral conductors teachers should take in order to affirm their music students' identities, their singers' identities, while still continuing to emphasize the importance of providing, here's the word again, that space within which all students and all singers feel as though they belong. And that means they feel that they're seen. That means that they feel that they are heard. They feel as though they are connected with the people with whom they're engaging musically.
And I'm excited to give this opportunity for our conference attendees, our convention attendees, to sit together with those who are in like day jobs, who have the
Mm.
same, who do the same thing on the regular with their own choral, in their own choral rehearsals with their own students
Mhm.
and singers. We experience these topics sometimes in professional development sessions with our entire faculties.
Mhm.
Or perhaps we've learned it or we've experienced content in an academic setting in a master's degree online class or, in undergrad. But very rarely have we had an opportunity, I feel like, to sit with others who are choral directors and have these discussions with them. I'm real excited about that potential.
Me too. Me too. For all the reasons you described.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. Well, I really appreciate you for this conversation today. I think that you've given us some really great insight as to what we can expect from our headlining sessions during the TCDA convention this upcoming July. Is there anything else that you would like to share before we sign off?
I don't think so. I'm just truly looking forward to this opportunity. I look forward to not only participating in this convention through these sessions, but having the opportunity to connect
Yeah.
with current choral directors who music with their students in a variety of settings. It's going to be fun.
That's awesome. And definitely, Dr. Henninger, I'm sure you won't mind maybe hanging out after the sessions in the hallway area, the common areas, and answering questions and sharing your email address and as ways that people can get in touch with you if they have further questions after the fact.
For sure. And I do want to say thank you to you, Dr. Cruz, and to the board for inviting me to serve in this capacity. And I do hope that it will be a positive experience for everyone. And yes, I will make myself extremely available.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
So the TCDA Summer Convention, July 25th through 27th here in sunny San Antonio. We look forward to seeing you there. Pre-registration ends on July 1st, 11:59 p.m. on July 1st, but we always have on-site registration open and we look forward to seeing you at the convention. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Henninger.
Thank you, Dr. Cruz.